We're going to speak about ranking up in the society. And my first question is if you want to rank up. So I'll ask just that. Just give me a second. Do you want to rank up socially? Yes, no. Okay. So I'm going to put it, I need to move it. So the poll is there. Yeah, I'm just trying to move it off my face, but it's not very easy. Okay, it's moved a little bit. Just a second, maybe. Yeah, a little bit more. So, in 2025, the discourse actually erased what's hierarchy, what's status, because we don't like to hear about it. We are very aversive to it. Actually, the other day I was holding a live on my account Moon Cycle, and I asked people if they were dating within their status, and most of people said they weren't. And I think that this is like the fact that we don't speak about status. It doesn't mean that status isn't out there, that hierarchies aren't out there. So not speaking about things doesn't erase them. It doesn't, and also very important, doesn't take away their importance if they have any, and ranking up socially still has. So first of all, actually, it's pretty funny because in humans, we know that social ranking is very complex. There is so much nuance, but our serotonin system is actually something that it has been observed both in us as well as in other species, some of them very, very primitive. So what it basically means is that right now we have our prefrontal cortex, our frontal cortex, and we use it for so many things, or at least we are equipped with it in order to use it for so many things. The other thing is that, well, we don't actually use it as much as we should or could, but that's a different topic. Nevertheless, yes, there are so many structures in our brain and in our body that, that used to serve certain function in the past, and we kept them. But nowadays we have like more sophisticated structures placed fixed upon them. It doesn't mean though that we now exclusively use those more sophisticated structures such as our frontal cortex. We also use, for example, our serotonin system, and serotonin system directly reflects our social standing. So to give an example, for example, in some more primitive monkeys, primates, I cannot remember what kind, but they were like more primitive. They gave them Prozac, and they automatically became alpha in their groups, just by taking Prozac. Prozac made them calmer and slow their movements, but also inhibited their compulsions. So that was the only thing needed for them to rank up, because their biochemistry was dictating their status. So those monkeys would immediately rank up. There was no need for them to do anything special. They just took Prozac. And we know, because we see it in our day-to-day, that antidepressants and Prozac, they don't make it possible for people to rank up. Actually, the thing is that it can backfire. Like if you take Prozac, it can, because of all the side effects. It's not just that you rank lower, but in general, like it will it will be not very good for your overall health. So the thing about more sophisticated, developed organisms, such as maybe chimpanzees and, for example, humans, the thing was that Prozac wasn't enough because serotonin is just one factor of many. And ranking in social circles among humans is exceptionally complex. So the thing is that serotonin serves you as a scaffolding. If you take care of your serotonin levels, then once you do rank up, it's easier for you not to collapse in some kind of misery again. So let's say that you win in a lottery. So in humans, that will be the thing that it would immediately cause a surge of serotonin, and it will reflect your rank in the society. So just earning a lot of money, winning a lot of money in a lottery will improve your social rank, and it will be immediately reflected in your serotonin tone. Your serotonin will go up only because you won in a lottery. But we all know what happens with fast money. If you have fast money, but you have no system in place to protect yourself from the pressure, because what happens, it's not just serotonin rising, it's also stress hormones. And the stress hormones, if it's like a good thing, they give you more energy. So when you're broke, any task, any chore, any errand can be overwhelming. Like literally, going to a grocery store can be overwhelming. Preparing yourself a simple meal can be overwhelming. What happens when you have that serotonin surge because of a huge important achievement, such as winning a lottery, where suddenly you have energy for everything, you start moving a lot, and you're mobilized because you feel like there is more out there to get. But it's just as short-termed as infatuation. For example, when you meet that special person and everything in your biochemistry changes, and you have that more energy and you're very invested in that relationship. And we know that back in the days, in the history, in the prehistory, it served couples to stay together long enough to raise offspring. And that was it. No one cared if those people really truly stayed together all their lives throughout a meaningful relationship. No one cared. Nowadays, we have that additional challenge that we want to make everything so meaningful. And so we want to find the right person, create a very meaningful relationship, and make it last really long term. And we know that in order to achieve that, we need to have a regulated nervous system, at least most of the time. This is what sets up for success in relationships. So we need to do all that previous work on ourselves with other people. We need to be really well adjusted in our friendships, in listening to people, to any person, doesn't have to be a friend. And then it will translate into a successful relationship. We'll be ready because our nervous system will be ready to confront different struggles that appear in a newly created relationship and also over time. What happens with gaining a lot of money, with winning a lot of money, like at once, like in a lottery? Well, our nervous system isn't prepared. Just like our nervous system isn't prepared for spontaneously creating a successful relationship, our nervous system isn't prepared to hold to money, big money, like lottery kind of money. our nervous system just cannot stand it. There is just too much pressure related to it. So short term, sure, we are more energized. We have a better mood, and we in general feel prepared for anything. But it won't last long. Just like infatuation doesn't last long. So what happens with the social ranking in that sense? Well, if we're lucky and we win money in a lottery, then we can be very positive and optimistic about the possibility of winning again. We can try that, but but actually, what's far more efficient and effective is just priming our nervous system in order to be prepared for success, be prepared for the money, because our social status isn't the money, isn't the wealth, isn't the luxury. It's ourselves. It's ourselves having recognition from others in our tribe, basically. So if other people recognize our role, if there is someone to tell us, good job, that's a very good priming. So that's why having a job instead of winning in a lottery can be a very good investment, because it will prime your system far, far better. So that's one thing. Like we need to prime ourselves, but that's the interesting part. That just the act of any achievement. It doesn't matter if we work for it or if we don't. It will cause a social climbing effect, and it will be immediately reflected in our serotonin level. So that's very, very interesting, because in primates, what was needed, what it was, for example, Prozac. We know that Prozac won't cause that effect. Prozac can make you feel like you have higher social standing, but no one will recognize it. If you have a lot of money, such a lottery kind of amount of money, people will recognize it. They will see that you have a lot of money. They will see that you are able to buy yourself a house, that you're able to maybe buy yourself a car, maybe you're able to travel long distances and spend their time on holiday. All of that people will notice, and you will know that they notice, and you will immediately have that serotonin surge. And so we use those more primitive structures far more than we would like to admit. We prefer to think that we decide in our frontal cortex that for example, that we don't care. And this is what happened in 2025. We just collectively decided that status is not important, that we are far more into inclusivity and equality, and that we just won't speak about status. But again, it doesn't erase the issue, because we know that statistically people are still being very much discriminated on the basis of all kinds of things, that the fact that we speak about inclusivity, about inclusion of certain groups, doesn't mean that everyone within those groups is the same. And we just know it's our everyday experience. Like every single person, and every person who's watching it, and every person in the world knows that depending on which room they enter, they will feel higher or lower in status. That's a fact. So how can we basically control it, or how can we influence it? And doesn't make sense even to why would it be important to speak about status? Because nowadays in 2026 we can make status about something incredibly meaningful. We can make status about our values and our virtues. So we can basically stop thinking of status as something dictated by money, as something dictated. I can see the vote that someone wouldn't exactly like to rank up socially. I would like to, if you can type your answer why, to be lovely. And yeah, so what's the thing? Well, I believe that we can make status in 2026 about something else than money, wealth, luxury, privilege. I think that those are, I don't know if they're negative association. I don't believe so. But, oh, no one wants to rank up socially. Please type in why you don't want to rank up socially. And I'll keep explaining why it's actually a good thing. So status can be exactly about our values and our virtues. You can consider status as something that is intellectual, maybe, if it's a value that you appreciate in other people. You know, sometimes there are rooms of intellectuals that if a billionaire enters that room, they can actually feel pretty dumb because the conversations are full of references that they aren't aware of because they know how to build businesses, but they maybe don't know exactly how to speak about anthropology in art. And so every group has their own, very cool, very cool. There is someone who actually wants to rank up socially, very nice. And so there are rooms, each room creates their own rules for status. It's not about money. Everyone knows what's valuable to them. And for example, dating within your status doesn't mean that you won't marry someone poorer or richer. It just means that you search for very specific values, and it's very good to know what you're looking for. And I believe that in 2026, we can finally make that conversation about status, not about money, not about wealth, but actually about our personal value. Hi. We can actually, hello, we can actually speak about respect. We can speak about I don't know, conversations in general, like having conversations with people. For me, it's a very important currency. I find people attractive and interesting when I can have conversations with them and when they are rewarding to me. So for me, when I enter a room, that's an important criterion. When I search for a mate, that's an important criterion. Can we have a nice conversation? Can we connect? And this is what status is a little bit about for me, because I don't see myself as a snob, but it's true that it would be extremely difficult or impossible for me to create a relationship with someone who maybe wouldn't understand this video that I'm right now uploading, this live. That would be very tricky for me, because where is the value? I can be friends with this person. I can coexist in a system, but where is the value? So the interesting thing also about status is that it gives us a role in a legible system, meaning that everyone understands the system. It's not chaotic. So, and it's very interesting, because the research shows that in times of peace, in times of stability in the history of countries, societies, people with higher serotonin, they did better because everyone had their role and they all performed their roles, and it was good for them and for the society. But when there were like some rebellions, transitions, that was when actually individuals with lower serotonin did better because of their higher impulsivity, and I guess that translated in certain creativity in using the social opportunities created in the moment. So, but generally speaking, we want to work on our rank, and our rank is very important to us in terms of who we'll pair up with, and how our career will develop. So it's okay to have a role, and some people, like 60 to 70%, basically they'll keep the same role all throughout their lives. They will develop a career basically within one and only expertise in a way, and fewer people will actually rank up, so their career will lead them to develop something truly different and will be recognized maybe as a successful person. But let's remember that fame isn't a metric of status either. So, well, maybe I'll just, because I've got some notes here about how to actually rank. So let's answer that question. And so here I like that protocol, because basically it explains why choosing your passion as your path usually doesn't work. So if you're a young person and you want to improve socially, meaning that maybe you come from a background that you don't feel, because it's very much subjective, as we said, status depends on the group that you find yourself in. Like, measuring yourself against Taylor Swift, really, there is no point in it. So we all belong already to certain groups. The first social group that we belong to is our nuclear family. And then we start joining other social groups, and we find our way through them. So if you feel like your background is not really a nice status priming for you, and you'd like to rank up, what are the steps? There are 4 steps. So first of all, you choose a legible hierarchy. So you know what is expected of you, you know what the ranks are, and you just keep climbing. So it can be a job with very specific job titles, and title after title, you start earning more money, and you get into senior positions, and people start give you the recognition that you crave for. So that's one way. Another way could be like intellectual path. So you really start dominating some intellectual domain, and people recognize you as an expert or something. It could be anthropology, psychology, it could be science, all kinds of science, it could be medicine, and it's very much intellectual. You work with your mind, your ideas spread to people, and thanks to it, you develop more and more recognition within your social group and the society, maybe at large, or even the world now with the social media. Another way is also maybe artistically speaking, because there are also, we see artists as people who are very chaotic, but if you really belong to that world, you know that in order to be a successful artist, you really have to navigate a very specific social groups with very specific protocols, and there are also very legible hierarchies. You just have to make the effort of understanding them. So step first in order to rank up socially is to choose a legible hierarchy, and to read that hierarchy, to understand the hierarchy, to actually do your research around that hierarchy. You have to understand it. You just have to know the steps. You cannot invent it. You cannot live in a chaos. You have to be very transparent within that hierarchy. You need to let people in to your struggle. That's very important. So no way around it. Don't think that you can rank up outside of the system, because even if it's possible, that's not a strategy. It's just something that happens sometimes to people, because our world is also very random and chaotic. We know it, we've experienced it. But if you're consciously trying to rank up, then it's not a good strategy. It's very hard to count on probability that just by doing all kinds of stuff and being very proactive will lead you somewhere, instead of keep you running round in circles. So we have the first step. The first step is legible hierarchy that we actually understand. We understand the rules, and we know exactly how it works. First step. The second step is one axis of competence. So you understand what your strength is, and you stick to your strength. So what to do to rank up socially in 2026? There are there are 4 steps in order to rank up in society. 4 steps that you need to follow in order to rank up in society in 2026. Hola Isabel, yo estoy en Granada. Estoy grabando desde Granada. And so yes, so 4 steps in order to rank up in 2026. The first one, choose legible hierarchy. That's very important. So you have to choose something that is understandable for you. You cannot just chaotically try to rank up in general. You just cannot, think that you will become Steve Jobs, the next Steve Jobs, by doing just random things. So legible hierarchy, the examples are maybe finding a career with like a job, proper job, where you just gain new job titles. And each one is related with like more senior decision making, with earning more money. So that's how you can rank up. Another example was just intellectually ranking up. So you choose a domain in which you can learn a lot, way more than other people, and you stick to that domain and you become a recognized expert. Another one is, for example, becoming an artist. So this is also a very legible word. It's not easy, but if you actually read that word and you understand it, those rules are very transparent. It's just that they aren't simple, they aren't easy, but they're very transparent. So if you do it, that's also a hierarchy. Now, the second step is choosing your axis of competence. That's very important. Whenever you choose the ladder that will get you to ranking up, you need to also choose your one axis of competence, and that axis of competence ideally should coincide with your biggest strength. So the thing that you're best at, that should be your axis of competence within your domain. So for example, if you join a company that has like many roles, and let's say that two very common roles are marketing and sales. Like, don't get into sales if you know that you'd be far better at marketing, and don't get into marketing if you know that you'd be far better at sales. But also be like humble enough or open enough to know what you'd be better at, because me as a millennial, I thought that I was just so good at digital stuff, because I kind of grew up. I cannot compare my experience to Gen Z, but I kind of grew up with technology, and I just liked it. I liked digital stuff, so I thought, yeah, digital marketing is something for me. And then, because of just different things, I got into sales, but it wasn't my choice. And actually, it turned out that I did far better at sales than at marketing. And so work on your axis of competence. It's okay if in the beginning you need to try many things, but the sooner you actually narrow down your strengths to just one axis of competence, the better. So that's the next step. We have 4 steps. Again, we have 4 steps to rank up in 2026. The first step is to choose a transparent, legible ladder for success. The second step is to develop our axis of competence, and the third step is the one that eliminates your competition. But it depends how you see it, because it can be you that be eliminated, but the part is that the step 3 is actually the hardest to execute on, and most people don't rank up because they don't want to go through the third step. And the third step is visible friction. It means that in order to rank up, and it doesn't matter if it's your village, it doesn't matter if it's your city, it doesn't matter if it's your country, it doesn't matter if it's like global audience, you have to be prepared for friction. You just have to become a visible person. You have to speak out loud about your opinions, about your expertise. You have to take risks. Because there is no such a thing like, oh, I'm right. And I can just like right now record myself and say, I know this is truth. This is truth about ranking up in society. It's just an opinion. Science is just an opinion in a way, because it changes when you look at research. Things change every few years. We kind of keep improving, but lots of stuff also changes drastically. So, and also you cannot count on every single person who is exposed to knowledge that they'll be at the same level of understanding that knowledge as you. So you speak about many things that many people won't understand yet. And since they won't be able to connect the dots, they will tell you you're wrong, and they will scream in the comments that you're wrong, and you'll feel rejected. And that's basically the level at which rejection happens. So we have 4 steps in order to rank up in 2026. The first step being choosing legible career, choosing legible hierarchy, legible ladder. We need to know what the steps are. It's very difficult nowadays to count on a random plan. We need to know what follows what happens after each step. So we choose that ladder. It can be, for example, corporate career is a very good example, but there are many, many more, and there are also alternative ones. It doesn't have to be corporate career, but it's a very good example because it's very legible. Unless there is like some kind of corruption and nepotism or something, it's very transparent actually. So this is what you choose, but you can also choose it as an artist. Like you can choose your path, transparent path as an artist. As I mentioned, that word is also extremely transparent, difficult to read, but extremely transparent. So you choose your path. The second step, you choose your one axis of competence, and then the third step, you are subjected to visible friction. And so what must happen, and this is, you cannot avoid it. That's the whole thing. People think that they can avoid it. People think that they can just, for example, become so good at something that they will skip that step, and that's what makes them postpone everything. They are perfectionists, and they're really afraid of this phase that I'm about to tell you, but it must happen. If you don't go through that phase, you won't rank up. Like, it's just a must. So what must happen is that you must be evaluated by others. You cannot just go somewhere and say, I'm the best at something. You must be evaluated. You must be evaluated by other individuals, by people, by organizations, depending on the level of which we're speaking. Then you need to be compared. So you are evaluated just like, individually, like, is that person knowledgeable? Is that person grounded, etc.? But also you're compared. Okay, she's grounded, but is she more grounded than Karen, or is she less grounded than Karen? So you must be evaluated, you must be compared, and you must be corrected. So this is a moment when you have to show up humble. You have to be humble about your path, and you need to collaborate with people who are better than you, or who are from other disciplines but adapt to yours. There are many skills that overlap for different domains, and you have to be humble, and you have to correct, and you have to, and that's why you have to be present, and that's what Prozac takes away from us. It makes us very self-directed, and we can be so self-directed that we won't pay enough attention to, for example, being corrected, and that's exactly what we need in different domains. And so if you're avoiding judgment, if you are afraid of rejection, you won't do well at that third stage, and this is the filtering stage. Since most people give up at the third step, they usually, this is how they avoid ranking up. And if you don't get exposed in that way, you cannot even dream of ranking up. And then if you endure the third step, then you go into the fourth step. And the fourth step is converting your competence into recognition, which has a lot to do with communicating. We always emphasize nowadays that we need to communicate. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are. It's like the tree that falls in a forest where there is no one to hear that. Like, did it even fall? If you're an expert who cannot really articulate their thoughts, well, you've got a problem, because this is another important thing to rank up in the society. The fourth step is translating your thoughts, your ideas, your competence into actual value for the people. Value that they can appreciate and recognize, and you can get recognition. But it also comes with a very surprising difficulty, because if at the third step it was rejection, like open rejection that hurts, and we're very sensitive to rejection, the fourth actually comes with credit, and it seems like we as humans, we as persons, we struggle with accepting credit, deserved credit, which is very interesting. We have to accept praise without deflection. It's very hard for us. And we have to even tolerate mild envy or pushback from people that, that aren't ranking up along us. And that's also something that you would be surprised how many people sacrifice their standing in the social ranking, because they don't want to be seen above their friends, their partner, their family members. And you have to be ready for that. And so ranking up entails transformation. If you want transformation, this is something that I remember from Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson always says, in order to go through transformation, there must be sacrifice, there must be grief. There is no way to move anywhere without that sacrifice. If you want to rank up, you need to sacrifice something. So there will be people who will feel envy. There will be people who won't be able to stand your new situation, and you have to endure it. And that's also something that people find really, really hard. So people who reject recognition claim that it's humility, but actually they're avoiding hierarchy anxiety. This is very important, because that's true. Like, you want to say, oh no, I don't care about that award, and so I won't go to receive it because I don't care about awards. But it's not about the awards, it's about social protocols and rules, and following them and respecting them and observing them, which is something that leads you to ranking up. And ranking up is good. It's biologically good for us. It structures, it's good not only for you, but it's also good for the tribe, because everyone has a role. And we know it from modern societies. We actually lack good leaders. We have many loud leaders who really insist on, I don't know, mainstream message of populism maybe, but we lack real leaders. So anytime someone ranks up in a meaningful way, that's very good for the tribe, for the social group, for the country, for the society. So we shouldn't be afraid of it. But yet, the third and the fourth step are the most complex for the people. So let's revise them. 4 steps in order to rank up socially in 2026. The first one, choose a transparent path. So something that where you can expect to climb. 2, choose your one axis of competence, make it as specific as possible. 3, expose yourself to visible friction. You must be evaluated, you must be compared, and you must be corrected. And finally, the 4th, once you develop all that magnificent mastery, you need to now translate it into recognition. So you have to communicate the value that you offer to people extremely well, and you have to accept their recognition. So allow credit for it. Accept praise without deflection, and you even have to tolerate mild envy from the people around you, from the circles around you, and you have to be ready for experiences hierarchy anxiety. It's very common. Any leader must deal with anxiety. Anxiety isn't bad. It's a sign that you're no longer just a nobody. You have responsibilities, you have a role, you have obligations, and you observe them and you manage them and you navigate them gracefully. That's the idea. So I hope that it was helpful for you. I hope that you all now feel like ranking up in 2026, and please follow for more, and see you very soon in the next live. And yeah, and have a lovely Christmas.